Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Underneath the Hood. I'm Dave Martin, the owner of Martin's Auto Repair in Central Phoenix.
I'm Glen Hayward, the proud owner of Goodworks Auto Repair in sunny Tempe, Arizona.
And I'm Lee Weatherby with Accurate Automotive in the heart of Mesa.
And together, we represent 140 years of combined automotive experience.
Our goal is to change the perception of our auto repair industry by going behind the scenes and underneath the hood.
And we hope to share with you what it's like to own a small business and give you a perspective from an insider's point of view.
So let's get started. Good morning, guys. How you doing?
Great, David. How about you?
Good.
Dave,
Yes.
Lee,
Another
always great
day.
to be with you guys.
Good to be with you, Glenn.
Another great day in podcast land, right?
Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
indeed.
Hey, today we're going to talk a little bit about millennials and auto repair. And
Great
uh,
subject. Great.
you know-
Is that kind of like an ergonomic? No.
no, it's not ergonomics, Glenn. Get that out of your head, buddy. Holy smokes.
A millennial. What's a millennial? Define it. Because
Well, a
when
millennial-
I heard we were going to do this, I was wondering, okay, where does that age group fall in?
Well, they are born between 1981, which is really a long time
Here
ago.
I graduated.
If you're
high
born,
school.
if you're born in the your first numbers start with 19, you're old. That's what I saw that the other. Never mind. Anyway, 1981 to 1996.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, so they are between 28 years old and 43 years old. And so they are basically, they're obviously in the workforce, and a lot of the baby boomers, I'm the last of them, and they, they're starting to retire at a pretty rapid rate.
Yeah.
So these guys are coming in to kind of
I
fill
think
those
we're
jobs
too
up.
stubborn to retire. Isn't that what it is?
Well, that's the problem, or not smart enough. One of the
Not
two.
smart enough.
Yeah,
I
right.
guess.
But
You had to say it.
did you know 25%? And this was an article written by consultant agency Census Wide, and they said 25% of the millennials are going to do their own minor car repairs
I think that that's a trend.
to save money.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's what they're doing, is saving money.
Absolutely. But I think the trend is something that we really kind of need to pay attention to because the do-it-yourself market had gone away for a while, and most people were starting to, of course, not necessarily the millennial market, you know what I mean, but different age groups were more, hey, I wanted you to do it for me. But now, what we're seeing is,
Well, there was more money there too.
there was
People
more
were
money
making
there.
good money.
Yeah. Well, and let's not underestimate the millennials. I mean, they're probably stacking huge fortunes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Compared to what we could even consider in our day as baby boomers. However, what I think is really exciting for them is they really adapt very well to technology. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
And the things
Yep.
that are easy, or what we're going to call perceived easy, routine maintenance, tires, oil changes, little type things. These are tasks that they're thinking, man, why not take this on? You know what I mean? They look at it as
I'd love to see
fun little
someone change
challenge.
a
And,
tire,
yeah,
put new rubber
Well-
on their rim without any equipment. That'd be fun.
that'd be a tough one.
But
But I'm talking about changing.
I
You know what I mean?
But back to your point. The point is and they've got so many tools that they can look up. They can go on YouTube and they
Absolutely.
can watch the video and they can get a grasp of how to change it. And sometimes it doesn't work out. We've seen those cars get towed in where they've tried those projects and it just doesn't work out.
Absolutely. Some of the more complex repairs, but I got to be honest with you, I really kind of admire the fact that they're trying to take some things on themselves. You know what I mean?
Oh, I do too. Totally.
And
Yep.
trying to really, let's face it, you do it for a number of reasons, but trying to save some money and stuff like that. And in some cases, it works out fantastically, and you do. And in some cases, they end up having to go a little bit further because it may not necessarily have been, what was anticipated. You know what I mean?
Right.
And we run into that every day.
One of the biggest problems that you have if you're doing your own car repairs is the expense of the tools that you have to buy.
Oh, no question.
Because the thing of it is we all know this. I mean, you could have a toolbox that was probably a little 4x4 or 2x2 toolbox.
$6,000.
Yeah, yes. No, but I mean, if you had a smaller toolbox and you don't have enough tools to pretty much do anything in them.
Correct.
But nowadays,
Correct.
now you need a toolbox that looks like the
Takes
Taj
up the
Mahal,
whole wall.
in order
Well,
to be able to do it.
And the funny thing is now a lot of the people that are selling parts are also renting equipment and tools and stuff like that
Yeah,
to be
yeah.
able to do some of these
Well, and
jobs.
that's true. And back to the millennial thing. Millennials make up 1/3 of the U.S. workforce.
Yeah.
So what's happening is there's a shift, and you've got, as I said earlier, as the baby boomers are retiring at a rapid rate, they're not going to put as many miles on their vehicles as they used to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh,
Their
absolutely.
driving's going to slow down because they're not going to go to work every day. They're going to, maybe golfing 3 times a week or
Sure.
whatever. But
They're going to do the same things we did.
yeah, right, exactly. And
Probably
and
better.
Right?
So when you look at that and them having the technology, and you brought this up as a good point, is that they deal with technology very well.
Oh, yeah.
And so if they want to find something on the internet to help them to be able to do a certain project or whatever, they can find it very easily.
Yeah. Well, and the thing of it is, I love, I guess the thing, I mean, and guys, we would all fit this category, but they're fearless. You know what I mean? They push forward, hey, I want to check this out. I want to do the research on it. I want to find it. And then, man, I want to tackle it. And sometimes they get engaged before they kind of went all the way through, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And see that there was some, there was some degree of difficulty to it that may have been, beyond. But the fact of the matter is just that they're got the enthusiasm to get in there and go for it. I love it. And the other thing is they're starting to really see the value in maintenance. You know what I mean? Because there again, I think that there's been a trend shift a little bit there as well, where at one point maintenance wasn't, the highest of priorities. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now, because they were more or less trading out, you know what I mean? As technology goes, we need a new computer every 2 years, right?
Yeah, right.
Need a new phone every year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Why not get a car every 2.5?
Well, at least that's what they're told. That may not be true. I mean, I think my phone is probably 4 or 5 years old,
but you're also a baby boomer.
It still works as good. It still works as good. I mean,
yeah.
But it still has all kinds of upgrades and stuff like that, But anyway, the point I'm making is that, a lot of times, the information can be good, it can be helpful, but it can also be dangerous.
Oh, you bet.
Because it may cause you to try to attempt to do something that you're not capable of doing. You could be injured, you could be killed.
Yeah.
Well, or you just get halfway through the project and now you're going to hand it off to someone who knows what they're doing, and it may cost you more money than it would have had you not endeavored.
But see, no, I think you bring up a great point, because let's use that as a dividing line. So at that point, what is the trust factor for, let's call it the group of millennials, all right, to be able to, where do they want to take their car? Now I need help. Where do I want to go? I mean, are they going to go to a dealer? You know what I mean? Or are they going to go to an independent repair shop? And what are some of the foundational reasons why they would make those choices? Any ideas on that?
Well, I just want to throw in something here that I just read on my screen here is that according to the Automotive Industry Association of Canada, 42% of millennials either agree or strongly agreed that they feel helpless when they bring their vehicle in for maintenance or repairs. Yeah.
Now, what is the
repair needs? And then it compared to 32% in other age groups.
Whoa, that's a significant jump.
So we talked about it, and I guess I wanted to get back to this because that's kind of how we started out the podcast. Is they do it to save money,
right?
But there's other reasons too.
Oh yeah,
there's other reasons because they feel vulnerable when they bring
lack
their
of
vehicle
trust,
lack of trust, and they feel vulnerable when they bring their vehicle in, and they
I
feel
think that's a big generality, not only with millennials. I think just with the general public. I think that people who've had experience, or bad experience particularly, or several bad experiences with auto repair shops, they have this intrinsic, can you spell that? An intrinsic dislike or distrust of the auto repair industry in general, so I think you're just the next snake who wants to bite them, and.
But see, here again, I also believe that everything foundationally goes back to relationships. You know what I mean?
It does, absolutely.
And so with here again, and we've had some very, very great interactions with, you know what I mean, people who would fit this category of millennial. And a lot of them are second, third, and fourth generations, you know what I mean, that have been coming in. Mm-hmm. They followed what their family was doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We've been fortunate enough to have several of those. At the same time, I believe, how do people, millennials or otherwise, really hear about where to go and what helps to build that trust? And that is a solid recommendation from someone who has been there. You know what I mean? I believe that they're going online and looking at reviews and finding out what are people saying about
that's
these
huge.
things.
And that's why your online presence is so vital to the lifeblood of your business.
Oh, no question.
And making sure that you're getting great reviews, asking for reviews, and not saying, hey, give me a great review. I want everyone to give me a review, good, bad, or ugly. Everyone has an opinion, right? But I can honestly tell you that, the majority of, at least the three of us sitting at this table, 90% of our reviews are, 4.5 or 5 stars.
Yeah.
And so over the, length of time that we've all been in business collectively, about 120 years. I think we have 140 years represented just between the three of us in the automotive business. So it's
And to that
important.
point, I want to state something. To that point, it really now creates an opportunity for us to do some work. And gentlemen, I mean this. We have some work to do because we have to develop and build that trust with our millennial market and everyone really, but we take that seriously. It shows and reflects because the customers that do have the opportunity to come in, utilize our services, you know what I mean, will write about, you know what I mean, a quality experience, all right? And they will share, which how grateful are we for that? But at the same time, now we need to make sure that, you know, if there is a distrust, Dave, okay, that exists, and it does. I mean, this is not stuff that you're making up.
Right.
We need to be able to disarm them or help to disarm them when they come in. I mean, right from the first, you know, right from the drop off, we need to be able to help understand what their need and want is. And if that is to understand, because listen, guys, there's nothing worse than feeling helpless. And according to this article, that's what they feel.
Right. Well, they
It's
feel
a little bit
vulnerable.
helpless.
They just feel really vulnerable,
Yeah.
vulnerable when they come bring their car in because they don't know a lot about vehicles. And you know, the other statistic, this one came from Kelley Blue Book Service Advisor in 2022. 79% said I'm sorry. Let me reread this. 79.
Dave, you want my glasses?
I need something. I guess I'm all tongue tied for some reason. Anyway, 79% said they'll do their own research about what their vehicle needs before seeing the mechanic. Now, back to your point earlier, you were talking about how people look up to find the shop. Back, we didn't have computers back in the day, so we relied on word of mouth.
Right.
You know, or you know, the phone book, but I mean, most of the time, everybody knew their neighbors. Everybody talked to their neighbors and every, you know, coworkers. Hey, where do you take your car? Where do you take your car? We got a lot of customer referrals that way. Nowadays, people, they'll drop by your place to see it, and the first thing they do is they Google you to figure out what you're, you know, try to figure out if you're a good shop or not, and they'll read your reviews and they'll just see what other customers are saying about you.
Right.
But in that same article, they wrote 66% will look things up after their visit and return with a better sense of what their vehicle needs. Now, we see that happen all the time in my business too. You know, the thing of it is they do their own research. They're very good at it because it's all at their fingertips. It's on their phone.
And I applaud that.
Yeah,
I applaud that.
Yeah, right. And that's exactly. And whenever a customer tells me they're going to take a vehicle somewhere else or, you know, for some reason, I always ask, did you check the reviews? And, you know, sometimes they don't. You know, if you're looking just for strictly price and you don't do your due diligence and look at the reviews to see what kind of business they are, chances are you're going to be the next one writing them a bad review.
Yeah. And well, now to your point though, and this is one of the things that I want to say. All right. We have talked previously about setting expectation for a customer. So let's call that the ownership line.
Right.
We want our vehicle forever. We want it for 10 days. We want it for 6 months. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And then we try to set an expectation,
Right.
all right, for maintenance and repair over that period of time to meet or exceed the expectation. The same thing comes full circle when it comes to doing your lookups and things like that. You know what I mean? And your research. You'll research the first one and then the first two, but then the third, like you're talking about, maybe I'm going to get a second opinion, but that was as far as you went. But now the second opinion, I'm not necessarily going to go to that step. The key to it is because it's easier for me in my mind. Well, the manufacturer, the dealer, I'm just going to take it there. And why? Because there's a perception, you know what I mean? Especially among millennials. And I read this in the article.
That's all it is a perception.
It's a perception, right? And it's not necessarily founded, but it doesn't matter.
Right.
It's a perception,
right?
All right, that they are going to
9/10 of the law,
more.
as it's been said.
They're going to get a better experience because they have better education,
Better training, better equipment.
Guys,
yeah, hold on yards. Yeah.
And here's the thing.
Have a
That's really
pirate ship
something
that the
that
kids
I
can play
think
on while they're
we
waiting.
should touch on a bit because we know that. Look at, I am a dealership technician.
Yeah.
I worked for Honda for 16 years. Okay. I worked for General Motors for 5 years. And the real reality of it is some of the technicians that were in there, and I'm going to qualify that, some of the technicians that were in the dealers at the time that I was working, and it is the same today. Okay. were some of the most experienced guys out there, because you know what? That's all they did. They were the salty dogs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The guys that, you brought it in and they could do anything. The vast majority of the technicians that were in the bays were not those guys.
Right.
They were the guys that had gotten hired last month or last week because of turnover and other, reasons where your cars are being trusted to those guys. And so the recommendations that are coming out of there, and then you don't get a chance to talk as a consumer to the technicians. You're talking to who? The service advisors. And the service advisors, you know what I mean, are kind of directing conversation. But are they educational? Not necessarily. You know what I mean? Are they influential? Absolutely. Are they trying to steer you into, you know what I mean? Because in most cases, and here again, I don't want to label everything as it's absolutely this or that, but in most cases, their paycheck is derived from what they're capable of being able to sell you.
Commission.
And the thing
Like
is,
the salesman.
we don't have that, you know what I mean, that exists, you know what I mean, in our shop from a commission standpoint, because unfortunately it leads, you know what I mean, to some things that could be all considered pretty negative. You know what I mean?
Shady,
I don't want to sell
whatever.
things that you don't need. And so what
Well, it's about your culture, though.
Uh,
I mean, it's the culture that you said in your
truly,
shop. You said in your
truly.
shop. The thing of it is when you've got that big of an animal that you're trying to control. You know
Correct.
what I mean?
Correct.
It's pretty difficult. And there's no owners on site.
Right.
They're all just, and they got some great people working for them, but it's tough to manage that. And what you said, as a consumer, if you want to get some information, it's a lot more difficult to get that information because you don't have the ability to talk to the techs.
See, my dad, from the time I was just a tot, he said to me, ask questions.
Yeah.
My dad, I mean, he drilled that into me, ask questions. There's no question that you can ask. And you know what? I've always been that crazy knucklehead that listened. I actually love my dad and I listen to him. And you know what? Now I ask questions and I ask and ask and ask until I get what I'm looking for, because I may not understand or perceive. And so when people ask questions, I love it. I absolutely love it. And just like we had talked about it in an earlier segment at a different time, if you get somebody that wants to, bring their car to you and they say, oh, no, you absolutely can't do that, you should get out of there. If some people can't answer your questions or are not willing to answer your questions, guess what? Get out of there. You're in the wrong location.
Absolutely. Information is key. And in order to
Absolutely.
make any decision, any important decision you make in your life, information is key. There's no doubt about it.
It's
It
vital
is.
that we freely share our education for the questions that are asked and not try to over embellish or over inform, because
Right.
the key to it is
my
they don't wanna
dad
be
told me a
over-informed.
long time ago, he says, the only dumb question is the one you don't ask.
Amen.
Yeah.
That's the dumb
Right.
question.
And if you don't get the information, chances are it's going to end badly. If you make a decision about something and you don't get the proper information, chances are you're going to make a bad decision.
And-
that's exactly, my dad used to tell me that all the time. He goes, if you don't get the right information and you make a decision, it's going to end badly.
And that's a foundational principle that I believe in. And that is also part of the culture that we practice, is that, you know what, we don't want to sell you something that you don't need. But then again, how often do you break things down from a priority standpoint? Hey, this is important. This is important. And I can guarantee, looking at both of you, and I've been in both of your shops,
Yeah.
known you for 20 plus years. All right. You break it down from a safety standpoint first, then from a pocketbook safety standpoint, then from a creature comfort standpoint, and then from, hey, let's keep an eye on it. You see
Yeah.
what I mean? So it's very easy to break down. Whereas your motivation is the customer safety and their pocketbook, making sure that you preserve it.
I got to jump in there because I just got another thing on here for Kelly Blue Book poll. Is for millennials and Gen Zs. It takes an average of 8 warning lights for them to schedule their vehicle maintenance.
Wow.
Holy cow.
Yeah. So when you think about it, and to your point there, what you were talking about is how we kind of lay things out there, and I guess it's got to look like a Christmas tree in order for them to bring their car in.
But the interesting thing is, the auto manufacturers have taken great pains. All right, there's one check engine light. How many systems are influenced by that one check engine light? 96 at minimum.
Yeah.
96.
Well,
So if they
what
put
make-
96 lights on the dash,
what kills
people
me-
would go crazy.
You know what kills me about
Whoa!
this whole thing is that they'll think nothing about spending $1,000 or $2,000 on their phone
Yeah.
to buy
Yeah.
the phone
Yeah.
and then the monthly whatever. And,
Hey, that's
and you
the
tell them that
information,
they
Glenn.
need $500 worth of whatever it is, transportation that drives them to and from all their parties and friends' houses and
Well, and
whatever it is. And that's just like, oh my God.
And you know,
How am
we
I
know-
going to afford
mean,
that?
just-
But then when the next phone comes out next year, it's another
Well,
$2,000.
I just want to talk about that for just one quick second because I really love what you said there, and it just popped in my brain. Okay, they'll spend $1,000 or $2,000 on their phone, and that's perceived as freedom. Okay,
Yeah.
freedom. I got my phone, man.
Yeah.
I'm ready. I'm out. Whereas, you know what? When we were growing up in our age, baby boomers, right? We looked at an automobile as freedom.
Well, yeah, and
that was our freedom, man.
Yeah.
We got a car. We're ready to go.
Well, and
You know
and
what I
you,
mean?
and you know what? When we turned 16, we got our license, and they could be 20. I've interviewed people 24, 25 years old.
They don't even have a car.
They don't have a driver's license.
Right.
They don't even have a driver's license. And you're right. The freedom thing is we couldn't wait to drive
Right.
to get our freedom.
You bet.
And I got this other thing here that 64% said they're okay with their car not being up to par as long as it passes the state license safety test. Now, we don't have a safety test here in Arizona.
No.
No, not
We
anymore.
don't
We have an emissions
Not
test.
anymore.
all we care
and
about
it's
is
waived
emissions.
for the first 5 years
But-
of
but-
your
but you
new
guys-
car ownership, and it's like every 2
Your
years.
car could
after
your
that.
car could literally be falling apart driving down the road,
That's-
and you know what? All they care about is that it's not polluting the air.
And you know what? That right there.
But
that
that's where the
that should
emphasis has
shock
come
you.
from the government and
Yeah.
from everything else like that. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, the environment. Okay, so your tire blows up and your car crashes, and all the damage that's done to the environment from the pieces of your vehicle and the oil from your rod blowing.
But a lot
your
of states
motor
do,
up.
right? A lot of states have those inspections. Your vehicle has to pass the emission. It has to pass a safety.
And there's different,
Safety inspection.
there's different levels in different
Well,
states.
and interestingly enough, in Arizona, it's you're right for passenger cars that they don't have a safety inspection, but for some of the bigger vehicles and the ADOT vehicles and things like
Oh,
that,
absolutely.
they do have safety inspections. They do have to do yearly reports.
Yeah, those are
You know
like
what I mean?
all commercial,
Yeah,
though,
but
right?
all commercial
all
vehicles, right?
commercial, yeah.
And they have specific things they have to go through. I wish they did them on cars because Dave, that's a staggering
Yeah,
number.
64%.
Wow,
Yeah.
more
and-
than
and-
half.
And we see it. I mean, obviously,
Oh.
we get customers that come in there. And it's like, oh yeah, you know what? Yeah, you got duct tape all over this thing. Do you want to fix it? You know what I mean? And no,
Why bother,
it's
man?
fine.
The duct tape's holding.
Yeah, the duct tape's holding it.
Still holding my fender on.
Yeah.
Or my headlight.
Yeah.
We had a guy come in the other day. He had
Good enough for NASCAR. It's good enough for
this
anybody
guy
else.
had an elaborate flashlight taped where his headlight was missing. It was crashed out or something. He took a flashlight and he had it elaborately taped with duct tape in there. And so when he needed lights at night, he just pushed the button on the flashlight, and that was his other headlight.
Well, the interesting thing is, and I mean, going back, like I say, to the millennials and stuff like that, is they very much are innovative and creative. You know what I mean? And they'll do things, and I think that that spans all generations. But at the same token, when they get to the point where they need something, so for example, you talked about 8 lights, right? Eight lights. We would call that maybe 8 events or something. Now all of a sudden they want to take it to somewhere, and you know what? When they do,
want you to wave the magic wand and make all 8 lights disappear.
Well, but the nice thing is
low cost of
they-
$99.95.
they've generally, and this is something that we might talk about it another time, but they've generally done some research to find out what potentially could create that light. You know what I mean? What is it? And so they might come in with some suggestions. You know what I mean? And here again, how many service advisors love to have suggestions about what it is they do? How many
Well,
doctors want to be
if
told,
it's like
"Hey, I
your-
need this surgery"?
If it's your anti-lock brake system, it could be 5 or 6, 10 different things.
Absolutely.
Well, like
So-
in New York, they call it the nanny state, but
they call it the what?
The nanny state.
Nanny
Yeah.
state.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, and they require both annual emissions and a safety inspection.
Oh, I like it. I like
yeah.
it.
So I was kind of wondering if there was a state out there that did both.
Yeah. Well, I know. There's a
I
lot
know
of states-
Maryland does. There's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of back east. There's more than there is here. I
Well,
know
because
New
they rust
York,
out though too. So I mean, the vehicles. I think that's more the big thing with back east is a lot of the vehicles out here. I mean, you can run a vehicle for 100 years and it's not the body's
Don't be a
gonna,
speck of rust on it.
yeah,
or the
it's
frame,
going to be
yeah.
you can still do it, but back there,
You know what I'd love to figure out is along this line. How long do millennials generally like to keep their vehicles? You know what I mean? Because, for example, I know for like baby boomers and stuff like that, we have a selective group, more than 50%, that actually buy and hold. You know what I mean? So in
Yeah.
other words, our thought process is we'll go buy that car we want, we'll hold on to it, we'll do the maintenance, and we'll keep it for 20 years.
Well,
right?
I can tell you that.
Oh,
You know what?
that's awesome.
It takes 5 breakdowns for Gen Z and the millennials to buy a newer vehicle.
Five
breakdowns.
breakdowns.
Yeah,
That
I don't know
means
how
that-
they find all these
that
statistics.
means-
I don't know how they
I know,
do it.
but
but
that
I
means
mean-
they have to have it towed and pay the time. I mean, how long do you want to push the envelope until it costs you as much money to get your car to the repair shop as it does to repair something that could have been, a minimal expense?
That's-
Why do you wait to blow a
Well,
tire?
but here, okay. So
or,
I got another thing here that kind of ties right into this whole thing is that 27% tend to disregard and continue to drive a vehicle with a broken speaker or radio, which that isn't the end of the world.
They're wearing earbuds.
You can
Listen
yeah,
to
yeah,
stuff
and-
through
That's
the
exactly
phone.
right.
It
And
doesn't matter.
most of
They
the-
have wraparounds.
They got the phones, they got
Yeah.
earbuds. They don't care about that. But 26% ignore like dull wipers, excessive emissions, lower tire pressure lights, low tire pressure lights, oil changes and scratches in the vehicle body or the windshield.
In other words,
Or
see,
cracked
and,
windshield.
and right then and there, that's what I was talking
Yeah,
about.
absolutely. Yeah.
Their attitude towards maintenance.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah.
Because you said oil changes. You
Right,
said
yeah,
windshield wipers.
right.
Listen, we perceive these things as safety type items. You know what I
Right.
mean? And longevity prolonging type items. So the thing of it is, I really don't understand as far as years, but like 5 events. Well, that could be a 6-month period. You know what I mean? Or that could be a 5-year span.
Yeah.
But it doesn't sound like it's going to be over 20 years, because I can tell you this: in 20 years, I've had 5 events. You know what I mean? You talked about one coming back from Disneyland. That's a pretty big event. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, like I say, it would be really interesting.
But okay, so I got to tell you this too, then, because this ties into it, and this will tell you the good side of it. The good side of it is 50%.
Dave, you're just a wealth of knowledge. You know that.
Yes.
Your head
Our
is just
producer
glowing.
is making me look smart. That's really what it boils down to.
Oh,
Dave's
thanks,
got-
Olivia.
Dave's got
I'm really
Dave's
not
got
this
the
smart.
cheat sheet,
I,
man.
I got the cheat sheet over here. Yeah, I'm making myself
All
look
right,
smart
you
here.
cheater. Go ahead.
57% said maintaining their vehicle seemed cheaper than getting a new one.
Oh,
so
that's awesome.
there's
Seemed.
but you know what? Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
we had a podcast recently where we talked about the cost of a new car, $48,000 on the average. So you're telling me if you needed $2 or $3 grand worth of work done on your car, depending on the general condition of it, to make it safe and sound to drive again, that's worth less than spending $48,000 for a new car that you get to drive, and then of course your insurance is higher. I mean, there's so many things that people don't consider. Ooh, look at that eye candy! They got this new car and everything. They pay 48 grand for it. Now their insurance, which has doubled on anybody's policy, whether you drive a can of sardines or you got a really nice car. And of course, the more that it's worth, the higher the payments are for the insurance. So
you want to solve do you want to solve a $2,000 problem with $48,000?
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. So where's the logic? I mean, that's what kills me. I'm a very logical thinker. So when I start comparing, okay, should I do this or should I do this? Ultimately, if I take the bigger step and say, I'm just going to go buy a new car, I'm tired of this crap. I don't want to have to deal with this. Just get oil changes for the next 3 years and blah, 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 blah. But then they didn't think about the insurance and the payments on the car. And if you default for some reason, you lose your job, whatever, and so now someone else owns your car and it ain't you.
Yeah.
Well, and you nailed it right there too. The thing of it is it's going to be.
Well, what is a repossession rate on vehicles these days, Olivia? Can you look that up for us?
Yeah,
How
we're
many people buy
dealing
cars?
with a different mindset.
Yeah.
Technology has changed everything.
Right.
And the millennials, they know how to use technology very well, and Gen Zs do too.
Yeah.
And better than we do. And
Well,
when they want to find something, they'll find it, and they can find it fairly easy. So we have to, and there again, one of the things I wanted to say earlier when you were talking about Google is that just because it's on Google doesn't make it true.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, but I really believe, and I believe that wholeheartedly, Dave. I mean, I will tell you, absolutely agree with what you're saying, but I will tell you this: the attitudes and behaviors and preferences, you know what I mean, of millennials and stuff like that, we need to help to be able to influence that, to have them understand that if they are going to be going into one shop is going to be cost effective. It's going to help them save money. It's going to help them provide the longevity, you know what I mean, for them to be able to keep their vehicles over whatever period of time is they'd like to have them, you know what I mean? And then also really understanding and foundationally getting to really know and have that trust, you know what I mean, rebuilt, you know what I mean, and enhanced so that they can have the confidence that, man, when they make that call, because generally most of the time an engagement will start with a phone call, you know what I mean, hey, I've got this going on, what do you think? You see what I'm saying? And then we can be able to kind of guide and help them down that path and say, hey, let's bring it down and take a look. Let's see what we've got going.
Absolutely. And then, Glenn, you asked a question earlier about repos. Well, repos are up 23%.
Oh, I wonder why.
Yeah.
Well, it's the state of the world.
So, somebody decided that,
Well,
it was cheaper for them to go out and spend $1,000, $2,000 a month for a car payment than have $2,000 worth of work done to make their car last 2 or 3 more years.
Yeah.
The present one that they had. That's what I mean. The logic behind it. People don't think. They just see the eye candy, and they move towards that. And I'll tell people, look, you're going to spend $5,000 on this car. I don't think it's worth it. If it is cheap, it has some sentimental value. It's your money. You can spend it any way you want.
Yeah.
But that's where the honesty and integrity of the shop comes into play, because some would rather make the $5,000 on the repair.
No, we do that all the time. We'll let our customers know, and there's a little bit of a fine line you got to kind of walk there, is because the thing of it is you do not want to offend anybody. If you tell them the car's not worth putting money in it, and his parents died and gave him the car, and it's a sentimental value.
Right. But I think the point,
right.
I think the one point that really needs to be brought up, we always ask, there's 3 questions you need to ask yourself, in regards to this. And most people are only asking one. And that is, how much does it cost?
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Because here's the thing.
Yep.
That's the first question. You know what I mean? You have to consider, but what it all boils down to, there's 2 questions that should precede that. And that is, number 1, do I like my vehicle? You know what I mean? That has to be, because that's the relationship question with your car.
Right.
Do I like it? Number 2 really has to be, does this vehicle suit my needs? Does it provide what I need it for? Yeah. Is the tool effective? Okay. And then number 3 is, can I repair this for less than I can replace it for? And if you can say, yes, I like it. Yes, it does suit my needs. Yes, I can repair it for less than I can replace it for. Guess what? You have the big go, and it doesn't matter what the number is. I guess that's the whole thing. The number is irrelevant because you've already answered the question. I can repair it for less than I can replace it. And that involves a whole facet of things that you've been discussing. Not only just the cost of the vehicle, but the cost of ownership's involved in there, what it would take to replace it, the insurance, everything else. You know what I mean? Those are all factored into those simple 3 questions.
Well, and back to the original podcast is that we were talking about millennials, right?
Yeah.
And here's the thing that I think we need to do a really good job. We need to do a really good job with technology, because that's their space.
Mm-hmm.
They would rather have us text them than talk to them.
Absolutely.
What? And we need to do a better job of that. We need to.
And that's for the digital inspections.
And the digital inspections.
Only about maybe, I think it's 15 or 20% of shops in the entire nation do digital inspections. Digital inspections shows you pictures, it gives you videos.
But here's
maybe
the thing.
less than that, but
But I saw another report though regarding that. 15 to 20% are doing the digital inspections. Less than 5% are actually sending them to their customers. They're doing the inspection, and they're not sending. And you're going, whoa, it's a button, push it.
Right. And so I guess back to my original point here is that we need to meet the millennials where they're comfortable at in their space. We need to do a better job of making sure that we're up on the technology, we're doing the digital vehicle inspections, and we're utilizing it to the best of the ability and giving them the information. Because if we don't give them the information, guess what they're going to do? They're going to go online and get information, and they may not get good information. They might get bad information.
And I'm just going to say this, and this is my own little kind of not pet peeve, if you will, but it's my awareness that I don't like to categorize anybody, because people are people and everybody deserves our best. And I don't care what age you are. I don't care if you're young or old.
Right.
And millennials fitting that age range, and I've probably wrong, but in the neighborhood of 25 to 45, you know what I mean? I don't care if you're 15 or 16 and you got your first car, or if you're 85 and you've been coming, for 100 years. What I want to do is I want to help you. I want to educate you to the best of my ability. I want to engage with you on the questions that you may have. I want to be able to build the opportunity, you know what I mean, to build a relationship so that we can have some trust with one another. And then I want to recommend to you the things that are going to help to keep you safe, because those are the values. Once again, it scares me that 57% of the people only care whether their car will pass emissions, and they don't really care about the safety items in the car. That scares me. You know what I mean? Because I got loved ones.
You got to drive. You got to drive next.
Well,
to
listen,
them
I've got
the
loved
road,
ones on the road, and I've got to drive next to them. You know what I mean?
Right. And then when I just want to touch on this really quick about the digital vehicle inspection that you brought up, Glenn. Is the thing of it is did you know 70% approval rating? It's high. It's a higher 70% approval, more approved. What was the word I'm looking for?
Higher approval rating.
Yeah, higher approval rating. Yeah. Okay, so it's digital vehicle inspection increases customer satisfaction by over 70%, according to
well, because
Auto Vitals.
I think
seeing is believing.
Well, what I think it is, I think it answers the question of helping to build that trust, and a less feeling, helpless or hopeless at the counter, because now they have some things. Especially, listen, guys, you guys do actual pictures. We do actual pictures. Whereas I've seen some inspections that have come through from a variety of different places, both independents and dealers, that are using organic pictures. They're just being pulled off the internet.
They pull up an organic picture.
And it's not a picture of your car. You know what I mean? You got a blue car and they've got a white car in there, and you're going, whoa, wait a minute. It's not even your type or brand. But the key to it is something, listen, I don't want to belabor that. Something's better than nothing. But the reality of it is, show me what's mine. Show me mine. Help me understand what it is we need to do.
Back in the day, though, guys, show and tell was huge. We would have
still
customers.
Is.
We'd have
still
customers.
Is.
Yeah, but we can.
That's why TV's so popular.
But we can do it digitally now. But we can do it digitally. How many times in your lifespan before? Let's go back before computers and digital vehicle inspections. We'd call the customers, "Hey, come down. You need to look at this."
Yeah.
We'd send them down there, get them in the shop. We'd show them what we were talking about because we wanted to make sure that they understood it, and especially if it was one of those things that was just hard to explain.
You bet.
And we didn't want to talk over their heads or say things that they didn't understand. So we would get them down there and we'd have a look at the vehicle.
Well, you know what I would say? The most important thing that I hope people and that we can get out of this is we want millennials. We want them in our shops. You know what I mean? We want to help them. We want to serve them. And we want to make sure that, they have a comfort level in knowing that they can come and refer us. But they also have an idea of what to be looking for. You know what I mean? What they can expect when they get there. You know what I mean? So that they know, hey, I should be engaged. I should be asked about what I'm hoping, my longevity of my vehicle. Where do I want it to go? What do I want from it?
Right.
And so they can feel comfortable.
It's education more than it is preaching a sermon to them and telling them how bad they've been about taking care of their car. It's like saying,
absolutely.
If you want to get the most out of your car, these are the things that you need to do. And in the long run,
as long as that's their desire.
Yeah, you're going to save 70 or 80% in the long run of having this vehicle and repairs and maintenance.
So our producer asked a question here. She said, Olivia said, makes me wonder if it's because the data is provided over their phone.
Well, you know what? Let's face it. All right, nowadays, and here again, this is touchy area, but I was in and out. I went to In and Out. I was going through the drive-through, and I happened to look through the window, and at a table behind where all the food would have been served, there was two young women. They didn't fit this age category. They may have been a little bit younger. Once again, I'm terrible with age, so I couldn't tell you. But one was texting, looking at her phone, and the other one was giggling and responding. And then she would text, and then this one would giggle. And I thought to myself,
oh my God, the 2 feet apart from each other.
Hey,
exactly. And guys, I
hey, my daughter did that when we were friends and sitting in the backseat of the car. They don't want to hear your conversation.
I swear to you, it took me back. I drove around and stopped after I got my food. I walked inside and I went up and I says, ladies, listen, I'm not a weirdo. I got to ask because I need to understand. Is this real? They said, what? And I says, are you guys texting to each other? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, oh my gosh. And they looked at me as if I had a third eye.
Like
and I said, I said, ladies, wow, you need to take this opportunity to, you're young. There may be a time when you get married and move to, who knows, Idaho, and you're, somewhere out of the country. And that's the perfect time to text. But right now you can look at each other. You can say, hey, how you doing? You can feel the warmth of another. I mean, there is no replacement for that. And so I think the question that Olivia was asking is absolutely relevant, because guess what? There is no warmth. You know what I mean? If you're just getting facts, because guess what? There's no feeling in the facts.
Well, and it's funny, the text, I don't want to read any more garbage than I already have to read on a daily basis. And, my daughter will text me and she'll want to carry on a whole conversation. I give her 2. And that's it. Then I'm calling her. I've had enough. Yeah. I'm just like, okay, I am done. Yeah. We are not going to go back and forth 15 times. It's not going to happen.
But to your point, and what was just revealed in the article, millennials really would prefer to be text.
Oh, absolutely.
Versus picking up a phone and having conversations. So you know what? It's up to us, guys.
For them, it takes the emotion out of saying something to somebody that you don't want to say to them personally.
Yeah.
Or hear something from somebody else that you'd rather read a text and say, oh, yeah. Because it's not as serious. When it comes from the person out of their mouth, it holds a lot more weight.
How many nonverbal cues can be delivered, you know what I mean, without even saying a word?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When you're in person?
Yeah.
Thousands.
Yeah.
When you're via technology, none.
That's the icing on the cake.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, guys, we had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We got to wrap this thing up.
That was an interesting conversation.
It was a totally interesting conversation. And we're back to, hey, the key is we just got to meet them in their space. We got to meet the millennials in their space. And,
but you know what? I want to even just rephrase that. And I know the article was millennials, but I don't want to get stuck on a list thing either. We need to meet everyone in their space.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Because the truth of the matter is, you know what? We are servants, and we need to be able and willing, you know what I mean, to meet them. Like you said, I'm the same as you, Dave. 1 or 2, and then I'm calling. But at the same token, I'm going to do everything I can, you know what I mean, to text, to give you a digital inspection. And then when it comes to the question and answer phase, I would love to be able to at least discuss over the phone, if you're not there, you know what I mean, why there is a priority or a prevalence for being able to do this. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I think that everyone deserves that opportunity to engage, you know what I mean? Because there's a human element to it that I think is very important. And I know, automobiles, you know what I mean, are inanimate objects, but the reality of it is they are tools and equipment, and we take what we do so seriously that we want to make sure that we're providing you the best that we can offer.
Absolutely. The communication is whether you do it through text or through human contact. Yeah, I mean, when you're doing a business and you're serving people and you're trying to get something accomplished, you need the information, and that's the most important thing. And you know what? If our clients need text, pictures, whatever they need, that's what we're going to do. Obviously, that's just the way.
And one thing that I take from this article that I think is so important. Do you know what is absolutely critical? It's okay to say, I don't know. Because guess what? They're gonna look it up.
Right.
You see what I mean? So don't sit there and
don't make yourself look like an idiot.
Don't try to give an answer. That's the one thing that just drives me insane about some folks is they want to give an answer. They feel like they need to know everything. I don't expect you to know everything. Yeah. I expect you to be honest. That's my only expectation is just be square with me.
Yeah, right. And 9 times out of 10, when you make stuff up, you just look like an idiot.
You look like an idiot.
So it's not worth doing that.
Sooner or later catches up with you.
Yes, it does.
Well, guys, it's been great. We got to wrap this thing up. Our producers give me the old stink eye, and it's time to call it a day.
All right. Well, you know what? Thank you for the discussion, man. I really do appreciate it.
Appreciate it very much.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you.